We are balancing to that sense that God has got so much more for us to live into. God is also with us because he is our comforter. And he knows that we will walk through times that are really tough. Otherwise, he would never revealed himself to be a comforter if we would never need a comforter. Isn't that great? And God's provision and his care is strong towards us. And sometimes it isn't easy, right? And sometimes things don't go like we thought they would. And sometimes food can be scarce, and our ability and personal resources can get stretched. And as a country, we've probably felt like we've been in a time over the last 5 years when there's been more stretch economically and on the personal purse than probably ever before. And actually, there are, for many in our country, and we might put ourselves sometimes in those categories where things have felt stretched and we have needed help. And so this morning, Sarah Goggin is going to come and talk to us about some of, and I think Ant may come and share as well, about some of how food has been in short supply for some, and how as a country we've been responding, and often the church has been responding to help. So Sarah, I want to invite you to come and share some of your experiences and how some of the food banks and the food hubs that have been running in Cambridge, what that's been like and how that's been going. Great. Sarah, would you be able to use the microphone? If we can just move it. There we go.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me share. And I think this is the first time I've been in this church building for about a year. So, yay! So I think Ants and Liz and I have been involved in the last year helping at the Coleridge Food Hub in the city. And I sort of got involved last year helping to set it up and help organise the volunteers and help get food from supermarkets, etc. And I just thought that I'd start off and give a bit of a world perspective. And I'm not trying to be a realist here. I just want to give you some soundbite facts. I'm not an authority on this at all. It's a very big subject, very complex. And there are some amazing organisations out there globally helping in the whole area of food hunger and food insecurity. But I just thought that it would just sort of get us going, you know. So did you know there's enough food produced in the world to feed everyone on the planet? But there are as many as 811 million people worldwide go to bed hungry every night. Okay, 811 million. There's a little kid. Would you go to the next one? Right. So I just want to do a little exercise actually. So that works out about 1 in 9 people are hungry. And so if we look, I'm just going to do an estimate just to be quick. So that would mean that in this room, approximately, there'd be 4 people starving and about 8 people that are malnourished in this gathering, just to put it in perspective. So conflict is a major contributor, as well as obviously the COVID pandemic has caused a lot of problems. Yes, 1 in 9 people go hungry worldwide, and 9 million people die every year from lack of food. So it's the number one health problem, not having enough food. But there are some amazing organisations in the United Nations and others, the World Food Bank and the World Food Programme, that are really massive. It's the biggest, the World Food Programme is the biggest humanitarian organisation in the world that's working to help people with food insecurity. And last year they won the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize for their work, because a lot of the problems are obviously in countries where there's war and then there's famine and all the other things. Anyway, so in 2015, world leaders charted the Sustainable Development Goals working towards zero hunger 2030, and they aim to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. One of the troubles is that 1/3 of food gets lost every year due to waste and loss. For example, like, when you're distributing big bags of grain, things get lost, things like that. in distribution and things like that, a third of the food gets lost. And also, there's a lot of food waste in landfills creating greenhouse gases. So China and the US are the worst culprits. But if you put all the food in landfills together and they were a country, they'd be the third biggest culprit. So food waste is a really important issue to solve. Is that somebody collecting their stuff? Right. So in the UK, there's about 4.5 million people that have got food insecurity, and it's obviously got worse during the COVID pandemic. And the Trussell Trust, who we're supporting today with the food that we've collected, they are working to combat poverty and hunger across the UK. And they offer 3 days of nutritionally balanced emergency food and support to local people referred by local agencies. And last year, 2.5 million emergency parcels were given out. And the reason I'm talking about the world and the 2030 Zero Hunger Project is because it affects us here in Cambridge as well, because Cambridge is also part of that initiative. And there are 8 food banks in Cambridge run by churches, some of them run by churches like C3, St Paul's in Hills Road, and the Church of the Good Shepherd in Arbury, amongst others. And during the pandemic last year, food hubs also developed to help with the coronavirus situation, to keep a lot of people losing their jobs and things. And they're run by various community groups collaborating together, churches, residents' associations and churches. And that we're all part of the Cambridge Food Alliance, which is created in response to the 2030 initiative. So there's a co-farm off Barnwell Road, which was created in March 2019, that produces food for the food hubs, and 10 tonnes was given last year. So that's just literally 5 minutes away from us. We can walk down there. It's a nice farm initiative. Right, so before I get on to talking about the Coleridge Community Food Hub, I just want to mention 2 other organisations which I haven't put up here. There's an organisation that we work with called Food Share, and Food Share is an organisation around the UK that wants to stop food waste, and actually we get the food at the food hub from Food Share, and it's food that farmers can't give to supermarkets because the vegetables are the wrong shape or the wrong... or they're huge, so we get these huge Swedes, massive vegetables that you've never thought you'd see. And there's another organisation called, that's Fair Share, that's called Fair Share. And there's another one called Food Share. Now, Food Share was started, why I wanted to tell you about this, was started in Milton Primary School in 2010 because the children wanted to grow vegetables, and they grew vegetables for the local children's hospice. And since then, it's gone through the UK, and their goal is for every school to have a food bed, so that all the schools are growing food to give to different charities to help people that are hungry. So I think that's amazing. So yeah. Anyway, so Coleridge Food Hub, this is me. That's me, that one on the left, and that's Chrissy. Chrissy's the curate at St Martin's Church where I work, and we open on Thursdays. And the leftovers go to the Cambridge Community Kitchen, which cooks hot food for people. And then the really horrible stuff that we can't possibly eat goes to Linton Zoo. So we don't waste anything, Yeah. So this is some of the supermarket food that we get from Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Co-op, Waitrose, that's nice. It's use by or sell by. We can't use by dates, so we can use the sell by dates, So that's the nice bread we can sometimes get. And this is the veg that we get, big crates of vegetables to give out. And these are some of the hot, they're frozen, obviously, it's in the fridge, but the hot food meals that we got made up at CRC last year. And this is a food store example. I think our food store's a little bit more tidy than that one. And yes, and then lastly, we get a lot of generous residents giving donations. So thank you very much, like yourself, for the food you've donated today. Anyway, so I think Ants is now going to come up and say something, and Liz.
I just wanted to tell you about a couple of the people, obviously anonymously, who I met working at the food bank, who really made me think. So one of the first times I was there, a couple came in with 2 children, which is quite unusual for the whole family to come in, and they were immaculately dressed. I know for my children what the good brand of trainers is, and all those sort of things, and they were wearing it from head to foot. They looked beautiful, and I thought they'd come to help or to donate. But she came over and she just said, with COVID, our business has gone. We have nothing. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be eating this week. And it just made me realise it can happen to anybody. They had obviously had a really successful business, but COVID came, things like entertainment businesses, cafes, just shut down. And initially there wasn't a lot of support. And so a family like that, who never expected to use a food bank, it made that difference. And the other lady that really, really stood out to me, so she came fairly regularly and I got to know her well, and she was telling me about her 5 children. And she just said one day, do you know, by getting the basics here, I can give my children a treat. And this week we're all going to go and have an ice cream. And I'm just so grateful. And it's those tiny little things that you realise. Many of us have had times in our lives when we have had to make choices between whether we eat or we go out and whether we heat our house. But for lots of us, those are times are in the past, perhaps when we were students, perhaps when we were starting out. And it's those sort of situations that we just need to realise that for those people, the food bank makes a phenomenal difference. And for them, some of the things you've put on that table will change their lives this week.
Thank you, Liz. Yep. So hopefully the realists in the room were looking for some positives. So I just want to share a few anecdotes because my wife got me involved in this. So I've had to go to wonderful places like supermarkets, pick up the leftovers, and then take them down to the Coleridge. On that journey, I've had to go to the Orchard Tea Rooms in Grantchester and pick up their wonderful stuff at the end of the day. Back in April, they don't do it anymore, but that was really, really nice as well. And then I'd served once at the food hub, as Liz was saying, just fantastic to see people coming in, they get a bag, they go around what they need. And when I was there, there was a donation at the end from Marks and Spencer's who gave all their flowers. So rather than coming food, there were flowers at the end. That really, really blessed people. So it's those little things. And then just before Sarah comes back, notwithstanding the food miles on Seville oranges, this is serendipitous because I just saw that it was £1 in Sainsbury's, our local food bank that we exchange money for to get food. Basically it's fair share, so I didn't realise this. So when I bought the marmalade, I'm now donating to fair share. So even unknowingly, I do it. So amazing. So it's fantastic. So Sarah's going to share back some practical ideas now, I think.
People, just the world situation feels a bit overwhelming. I just wanted to share where you can make a positive contribution, so we can feel we're doing our bit just where we are. And so basically, so obviously the thing is you can donate money, and I expect quite a lot of us here do donate money to different organisations, but there are organisations like the World Food Programme, I think World Vision. Thanks, I had to say that for you, Jan, yeah. Right. Tier Fund and the Cambridge Food Bank, which you're donating today. But also there's another organisation called UNICEF, and it only costs like £2 or £3 a month, which is, a coffee. And you can contribute there, and they buy the rehydration salts, for children. And that's not very much money, but that's something worth thinking about, because I think it's really important, And the other thing you could do is donate food to local outlets. There's the bins in the supermarket if you can't be bothered to go down to a food hub, And also all the food hubs are really grateful for any donations. And also you can donate your time because there's still plenty of volunteering opportunities, I think, across the city. And the one thing I did really want to quickly mention was which you can make a really positive contribution is to stop food waste. And so just quickly, I don't know if that's up there, yes. So to reduce food waste, this is from the World Food Programme, you can buy only what you need and use, check your dates, don't keep things in your fridge, try and eat stuff before it runs out. Plan ahead for the week. Think of what to do with your leftovers. Batch cook, freeze meals. And what you save, then you can give. Thank you.
So, guys, thank you so much. That's been really, really challenging, inspiring. Like 2030, ending food distribution, inequality. That would be amazing. Just imagine.